Good morning, Facebook friends and YouTube followers. This is Rich again, back for your first video blog of the day for Thursday, August 7, 2014, around 7:37 a.m. in Billerica, Massachusetts. It's going to be a sunny day, maybe some rain showers and thunder showers. Happy National Lighthouse Day in the United States, and some news to report. The Boston Red Sox beat the St. Louis Cardinals by a score of 2-1, and also Colorado Rockies shortstop Troy Tulowitzki is sick of being on a losing team. I think he's going to be traded out of Colorado by the end, but in the off season. He should be going on a winning team, and I think he will, because the Rockies haven't won anything since 2009 when they made playoffs, and it's going to be a long time before the Rockies are a winning team again. Okay, and my first video blog of the day is about my continuation series of the top 10 greatest players of all time for the original 6 teams. I reached the last of the original 6 teams, the Toronto Maple Leafs. The Toronto Maple Leafs are a chartered member of the National Hockey League. They started out in 1917. They were called the Arenas. Then they were called the St. Patrick's, and then they adopted the name Maple Leafs in the 1927 season, and they've been called the Maple Leafs ever since. They've won so many Stanley Cups, I think 11, but they have not won a Stanley Cup since 1967, and they haven't even made the Cup final since then. It's a long drought, but the Toronto Maple Leafs are the most valuable franchise in the NHL. They're worth over $1 billion, and that's amazing. And here's the list of the 10 greatest Maple Leafs players of all time. I had to leave some great Maple Leafs players out, like Red Kelly, Doug Gilmour, Tim Horton, and a few others, because some of these players, are the best of the best, I think. The number 10th greatest Maple Leaf players of all time was Turk Broda. He is the all-time winning goaltender in Maple Leafs history. He won over 300 games with the Maple Leafs, led them to several Stanley Cup championships, and he's in the Hockey Hall of Fame. The number 9 greatest Maple Leaf player of all time is George Armstrong. George Armstrong played his entire 21-year NHL career with the Maple Leafs. He was the captain of the Maple Leafs when they last won the Stanley Cup in 1967. He's a Hockey Hall of Famer, and he deserves to be on this list. Number 8 on the all-time list of the greatest Maple Leafs players of all time is Wendell Clark. Wendell was kind of frequently injured during his Maple Leafs career, but he was a very tough player, kind of like the Cam Neely of the Maple Leafs. He scored a lot of good goals during his career. He was a tough player, like a tough player and stuff like that. And he had a couple of stints of duties for the Maple Leafs. His number 17 is honored by the Maple Leafs because the Maple Leafs don't retire numbers. The number 7 player on this list of greatest Maple Leafs players of all time is the greatest defenseman in Maple Leafs history, Boris Salming. He played all but one of his... Every season he played in the NHL was with the Maple Leafs until his final season, when he played with the Red Wings, and he was a great defenseman. He made several All-Star teams. He was kind of a Norris Trophy candidate a few times. He's a Hockey Hall of Fame, and he's number 7 on the list. Number 6 on the all-time list of greatest Maple Leafs players of all time, Rick Vaive. Rick was the first Maple Leaf player to score 50 goals in one season back in 1982. He was a great goal scorer. He was a great goal scorer, good sharpshooter for the Maple Leafs during the 1980s and stuff, and he's at number 6 on the all-time list. Number 5 on the all-time list of greatest Maple Leafs players, Johnny Bower. Johnny Bower played his entire career with the Maple Leafs, but he did not make the Maple Leafs until his late 20s, and then he was a great goaltender. He second in all-time wins for the Maple Leafs. He was the goaltender who was in the nets when the Maple Leafs won the Stanley Cup for the final time in 1967, and he's a Hockey Hall of Famer. And Johnny Bower's number 5 on the list. Number 4 on the greatest list for most of the best Maple Leafs players is Ted Kennedy, not the U.S. Senator. Ted Kennedy played his entire career with the Maple Leafs. He's the last Maple Leaf player to win the NHL Hart Trophy as most valuable player, and he spent his entire career with the Maple Leafs. His number 9's honored by the Maple Leafs, and he's a Hockey Hall of Famer. Number 3 on the all-time list of greatest Maple Leafs players of all time, Mats Sundin. Mats is the all-time goal-scoring leader and I think points leader for the Maple Leafs. He spent most of his career with the Maple Leafs. He was a Maple Leafs captain for so many years, and he appeared in many All-Star games, and he's in the Hockey Hall of Fame. His number 13 is honored by the Maple Leafs, so he's the number 3 player of all time for the Maple Leafs. The number 2 greatest Maple Leaf player of all time is Dave Keon. Dave Keon spent the majority of his career with the Maple Leafs. He was called a trophy when he won with the Maple Leafs. 2-time Lady Bean Award. He became captain of the Maple Leafs after George Armstrong retired, and he's in the Hockey Hall of Fame, and his number 14 is honored by the Maple Leafs. But the number 1 Maple Leaf player of all time is Darryl Sutter. Darryl Sutter spent the majority of his career with the Maple Leafs. He was probably the best Maple Leafs player of all time. He was a great one. He scored over 300 goals in a Maple Leafs uniform. He scored 10 points in one game back in 1976 against the Boston Bruins. He's a Hockey Hall of Famer, and his number 27 is honored by the Maple Leafs. The Maple Leafs do not retire numbers. They've only retired 2 in the history. They honor numbers, just like one football team I know that they don't retire numbers. They have like an honor, like Dallas Cowboys don't retire numbers, and they have a ring of honor, and Maple Leafs don't retire numbers as well. They have honored numbers, but some of these players probably wearing numbers again, and that's about it. This series of original 6 NHL teams, the greatest players of all time for them, have been real good. I'm going to be continuing this series. I'm going to be doing the rest of the 24 teams, NHL teams. I'm going to be starting probably tomorrow with another list. It's going to be started with the teams that have won the most Stanley Cups of all time besides the original 6 teams. I'm going to start with the Oilers, the Islanders, Penguins, and Flyers. I already have the names listed, and then I'll be going through the other teams. It's going to be tough to get the top 10 players of all time, like the Nashville Predators, Columbus Blue Jackets, Florida Panthers, Phoenix Coyotes, Winnipeg Jets / Atlanta Thrashers, but I'll get to it. And these names are going to be real interesting. Some of them are obvious, some of them I would have to be hard to the top 10. Maybe I'll have to do with top 5 for some of these newer NHL teams. Okay, I'll be back later on. Facebook friends and YouTube followers. Bye.